I won't take you far in, but you'll get what I'm saying. Okay? And we go in there and I'm struggling with this thing and I'm like, oh, what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? Okay? So I got my answer, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. Came back and we were having discussions and that, and you know, Tanya, she thought I was absolutely mental because when I went there I was party, and when I came back I'm like, no more party, no more booze, no more this, no more that. Okay? It took some time to filter out some of the naughtiness. Okay? But I got to a place and eventually Tanya and him started to see my walk and what I was doing, and we had discussion after discussion, and Baruch Hashem, God helped her understand where I was coming from. And then Amanda moved in, and then she got hammered with this because she also, both Tanya and Amanda come from Jehovah's Witness backgrounds. So we have very different viewpoints to start with. Okay? So we had very long discussions. And we came back down to what God had said. God is God. He created everything with words. Surely if He told you to do X, Y, and Z, He didn't have to think of a different way of saying it. You don't have to think of, oh, this could mean this, and this. Why don't you just do what He says as He started? Because that's what He was talking about. So we started and we had the discussions left and right, and then she started thinking about this whole kosher thing. She really did. And then is a very logical thinker, and she started researching and looking at stuff and all the rest of it. What she found, how we find it. What the pig does is, this thing is a garbage disposal system. It will eat anything and everything you put in front of it, including its own feces. Okay? The problem with that is it's only got one tummy, and its digestive system is very short, so it doesn't take long to break down all the toxins, and what happens is parasites and filth actually gets filtered up into the pig's flesh. Okay? That gets absorbed. Now, you must understand, people say, oh yeah, but back in those days they didn't know how to cook pork properly. They have just come out of Egypt where mummification was a very real thing. They knew about worms and not how to cook things, you know? You literally cut open to take organs out. You think they knew about worms? Yes or no? Absolutely. They would make incisions and suck out brain. Okay? This is in mummification. Right? The destruction of parasites in a human body they knew all about. And man-made fire, man knows how to cook meat up until a point. Eventually they know that you're not going to do it, so you're going to get very sick. She went in and she looked at this, and through this digestive process, we can still find, and there are medical examples of this. Please go and do your research. That it doesn't matter how much or how long you cook pork or how you prepare it, there are certain parasites that you cannot kill through fire. The digestive process is so weak that it cannot take out those toxins, and then we choose to take it and ingest it, and then it poisons our system. They found pork is actually toxic to your body. Never mind the parasites and that they come with it, it is toxic to your system. Not to the point that you're going to foam at the mouth like latex or anything funny like that, but it slowly starts to destroy certain sections. Never mind the parasitic, they call it the pork worm that comes up, and there's actually been documented cases where it literally eats through people's brains and all types of funny things. And this isn't a time thing, this thing can live in your body for your entire life. Right? Please don't eat pork. Okay?
One of the other things is that pig's skin is not a pores. So
the
toxins stay within the meat.
Can't sweat.
And also another rabbinic interpretation, it's the closest thing we have to human flesh. So don't get confused between eating your cousin and having bacon. Okay? Just because they look and taste kind of the similar. Apparently. I'm just like, okay, skip that way. That sounds very creepy to me. But if you're worrying about that, we've got more problems than worrying about bacon. If you think about eating another person, you're being psychotic. Right? So we go through this process of looking at the toxins. Now what God showed me was something completely different. What He showed Amanda was look at the health risk you're doing and how it's going to destroy your body. Do you really want to put that in your system? And what we need to understand is God doesn't make a distinction here between clean and unclean. He's talking about tabernacle, what is acceptable for you as a holy nation to be taken in. This does not equal sin. If you have eaten pork, you are unclean up until nightfall. That means there is something gone wrong with your purity. Problem with that is, it acts the same way as sin, but to a lesser degree. Both equal, no tabernacle time. You will not be able to go in and you will be able to touch anything that is of the priest who has set himself apart and he has made sure that his outside is as clean as his inside while he helps people come to God. He can have no contamination from the world. And it comes down to the point, it's the same as a baptism. There is no difference between jumping into a swimming pool and going through a baptism from a physical standpoint. You go jump into a bath, you will be cleaner. What is the difference when you're coming before God, before you climb up those temple steps? Imagine yourself as a Jew. 2,000 years ago, you came up from a little city of about, let's use Capernaum for example. You walk for about 3 days. Eventually you come up and you see Jerusalem on the hill, you see God's house, and you start to panic because you have been selected by your community to come up to the house of God and make an offering of thanksgiving for the crops that we've received as a community. And I'm carrying the weight and the prayers of those people, and I start coming up, and before you come in, at that stage the rabbis have said, if you excrete anything except sweat and tears, you are unclean. So if you need to go pee-pee, you need to wash first. They invented what they call mikvah or ritual baths. Okay, basically you've got steps going down with a cover, and there was a little wall of partition in between. You would go down unclean, okay, in a very closed space, naked. You would go into, and they would collect what they called living water, okay, water from the river and stuff, and they would fill it up to that point. It wasn't just manky old system. You would make sure you immersed yourself all the way until they teach the hairs on the top of your hand while you're holding your head down are completely covered. And you would go down unclean and you would come up clean. These purification laws come from this portion where it talks about if you have this on this, you need to go and wash it. Rinse it with water, you are unclean for a time. And then you would come up clean and you would get a little marking on a little clay tablet called a pacha that says clean. So when you start walking up the temple steps, not even in the temple, just to the platform on the temple, you're already worrying about my heart and my outward purity before I come up to a God who expects holiness and cleanliness. And the cool thing is, for those of you who are keen, when we go to Israel, I will take you to those very steps that lead up to the Hulda gates. And the steps are all built really wonky. It's like the builders that lost the time. We're doing this from the side. You'll have one step that's like that, and then the next step will be like this, and then the next step will do this, and the next step will do that. And then you'll have a little step, and then you'll have that. You think, oh my goodness, these Jewish people are crazy, or in a hurry. Okay? It makes perfect sense in a Jewish setting, because your spiritual walk with God is called what? Your halakha. How you walk is what you reflect. So when you're walking up the steps and you're thinking, step, 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 I'm watching where my feet go. I've just mikvah. I'm holding on to my community and I'm going to take up a sacrifice to this awesome and powerful God. I'm looking at my feet and I'm walking and I'm going back and forth. And as I come up to this platform, I am blown away by the size of this church. Remember they told me the disciples, Peter and them were like, oh my word, have you seen the size of this building? It is ridiculous. Even the ruins today are impressive. If we are blessed enough to go to the tunnels, there is a stone that sits 25 meters up in a wall. They have to dig down, so you have to go down to bedrock or the 2,000 year ago level. And you look at the stone, and I kid you not, it's from this wall, and it'll probably go past about another 10 foot. It's at least 6 to 8 foot thick, and it's literally probably from the bottom of the floor downstairs to about here. One stone. 25 meters up in the air. It weighs at least 560 tons. Today, with all of our machinery and all our stuff, we can't do that. It's impossible. And to show that they just weren't showing off, there was a stone right next to it, that 20-ton item. They pulled that out of a quarry, rolled it up, picked it up, put it 25 meters up in the air, And those were the type of stones that you see, and these guys are going, when you go to Capernaum, I'm not a massively tall guy, but you duck. Jewish people back then were teeny. Okay? Average guy was about this big. So the houses were small. Now you come up from there into this massive community and you're looking at all this and you're going, oh my word, how great is this God? But while I'm worrying about my purity, while I'm worrying about my sacrifice, will He accept it, yes or no? Does He understand the heart and how grateful He is, yes or no? Have I done anything wrong on my journey here to stop this sacrifice from being accepted? This man has been praying since he left Capernaum. He's been walking, worrying about what God is going to do. And please, Lord, accept this man, be worthy before you, because all we want to show you is how happy we are. I compare that heart to when Israel lost the plot a bit and they were just slaughtering bulls and that, and they were going, take it, let's go. It's so precious when you start looking at their heart and how they come before God to make sure, even at Moses, with Moses, when God said descend down, He said, wash your clothes, wash everything. Do not go near a woman because tomorrow I am appearing before you. He gives you something physical to tell you there's something deeper that needs to take place. Before you sit up in the morning, before you spend time with God, how much are you concerned with all the wrong you've done in that day? I can tell you honestly, I probably don't. We don't consider how pure we are before we come before a pure and holy God. We need to be reminded of the cultures and what is important to be able to go, okay, I'm preparing and taking 5 minutes just to look at myself and what I really want to say to God. Because I'm dealing with a powerful and holy God. And when I come into His presence, I'm not just, hey John, how's it going? I just want to hook me up with a couple of $100 because food is getting scarce. O King, may my supplication come before you at the right time. Please bend your ear down to me. Abba. It's a beautiful expression, Albino Melken in Hebrew. My Father the King.
I mean, you know, king, you can't just appear before him. Back then, you will be killed.
Exactly.
You had to make kind of like an appointment, and even then, that's the...
Do not forget the authority that you are talking to. Your dad is a powerful being. And He's helping you understand this, and He's helping you understand that this is about purity. But they both have the same problem. For a time, you will not be able to partake in service. How many of you are willing to sacrifice one day without God because you prefer bacon? Or roadkill, besides that's one of them. Blood? Prawns? Any sort of shellfish?
Sorry, where did you eat blood?
It was, you cook it through, but it's actually stipulated. It's not here, but there is another kosher says you will not consume blood because it was a pagan practice.
Yeah, I know, but we don't do that.
Blues, very rarely cooked meat, still has a little bit of blood in it, so you have to cook it.
No, that's right.
Okay?
Or isn't hanger sauce blood sausage that they do?
You get blood sausage and all the sausage.
Black pudding.
Yes. Okay? So he takes it and he does the split. Now what God showed me, what He showed Amanda was there are so many health concerns. What He showed me was something far simpler. You sit down at a table and you say, hey, what's up? And they go, bacon sandwich. And I go, no thanks, I don't do the pork thing. First question that normally pops into people's minds,
Are you Jewish?
you're Jewish. And I stopped and I thought about that for a second and I thought, hang on a second, that's kind of cool. By me saying I don't eat something already tells you which God I serve. Is that not the essence of holiness? To be separated from everybody else and to tell who you belong to. God is so busy with separating you don't even realize. Don't cut your hair like that.
That's it.
Don't cut your hair like that. Where sit? Specific days are mine and mine only. Don't eat that. Don't do this. Act a certain way. Why? So that the world may see who you belong to. By obeying everything that He has asked us to. He's actually just more and more going, my preciousness. You know, when my wife came down the aisle, I had to stop and I had to get this ring. And of course, like every new married man, I was doing that. By asking her to wear just this little symbol, I was telling her, I was telling myself, and I was telling the world that she belongs to me and me alone. Mine don't touch. My preciousness. Okay? And we need to understand that it comes from God. She is a wife to me. She is a gift. Don't you think you can make that comment? That is mine. And I'll ask you to wear that until the day I die. While I am here, you are mine. And I want to shout it to the world. That's what this little symbol means. How much more so if I'm sitting over here going, no pocket. No more mine. That's when I started going, but I don't really like talk that much anyway. Every now and again, you know, my old man and I used to sit and watch rugby. You know, he passed away about 10 years ago. And we used to sit and watch rugby, and every Saturday afternoon we'd shout at the TV, because that's what the actual boss would do. Because the louder you shout, the faster they'll run. And we shout at the TV, and we used to have muscles and things like that. So you have to get rid of, you know, those sort of things were a little bit more difficult for me to let go of because of what it came with. Good times with my old man. But you know what? I'd rather let go of that and enjoy the memories of the rugby and have good times with my old man.
It's practically quite difficult, you know, because the world has disguised it so much that you actually keep away from it. Actually, now we're coming back from Victoria the other day. In fact, I went to the sea, but on the way back we decided to stop in at that one centre on the one that's got the big cow in it, sorry.
Yeah.
Irene.
Oh yeah.
And we stopped there and we just wanted like a quick hamburger to carry on because we were like starving. And we walked in and he said, whoa! And we looked and it was an open, you could see everything that they were cooking. But he actually saw the guy cooking bacon and doing hamburgers in the same place. And we just turned around and walked out. It's difficult because you don't actually know what is happening.
Yeah.
And even from a practical perspective, to avoid pork is immensely difficult. And
This-
be so careful about what you do now.
This is where it's going to come into the real nitty-gritty of things. What does God consider okay and what does He not consider okay when it comes to certain things like that? We need to watch out from looking at that. I had a major issue with that whole separation thing. But the only actual example of which they could give to justify that these two things shouldn't even touch is that a carcass will not touch anything that is clean and then it will become unclean. Okay? What is a carcass?
Roadkill.
Dead animal. Okay? Are you allowed to eat a dead cow?
Depends how it's clean. Because the way you kill it, the bleeding out and all of that is been unpopular.
Yeah, but that's coming down to how I prepare the meat, and then it's no longer just a dead cow, but it's an actual food source.
Roadkill is open to so much more infection and diseases.
But also,
Any sort of dead animal, clean or unclean, if you come across it and it's dead, it is unclean to you, Torah says. And yet you will all touch steak. Cease.
But we control it. We kill the animal. And we control the process where if it's an animal that's been eaten half by a lion, we're like, let's take a piece out of it.
You're starting to see the difference between something that is prepared meat and something that is just left dying or dead. A steak in a freezer is not unclean because it is a dead animal.
They also call it second-hand meat.
Okay? Just like you need to look at something that is unclean like pork, It is not unclean in itself because of that, because it is prepared meat. So if you really look at the nuances of Torah, and I'm going to test you guys a little bit here, let me stir some more pot. If bacon touches beef, if it is cooked on that, is it okay to eat it, yes or no?
No.
According to Torah, show me the verse.
No, but it says that when anything that's been prepared with a knife that has been used to cut unclean meat.
A knife, show me the verse.
What it does say, if there's any plate or pot or anything that has unclean,
That a
just throw it away.
carcass has touched. And there are certain things that we are looking at here. I'm going to stir it big time. In this Torah portion, it will tell you, okay, that if a carcass lands in a clay pot, or on a wood, or on anything wooden, you throw it away. I don't care if you were cooking that stew for 3 days, if chameleon falls in your pot, they die. It's in that pot. If it's in a clay pot, you've got to break the pot, and that food that you've been cooking, I don't care if you do the quick 5-second rule, Now, why is it specific that if it's in a clay pot, it's unclean, but if it's in a stone jar, it's fine?
Well, clay
Because clay can absorb, so
absorbs
porous and it absorbs weight.
Exactly. So certain things are porous that actually absorb. And remember, we're not talking just about the, you've gone out, you're busy working in the field, you come back, chameleon, in that pot, dead, don't know how it got there, don't know what's going on. Unclean. No more pottery. Pottery out because I don't know what killed that animal. I don't know what infection it had. I don't know what's going on inside. Maybe it was decomposing in pork belly in the pot.
But that's obvious.
Yeah. But how can I
It's
compare?
not that obvious to a lot of people.
But just think of it, if most people came and their food was cooking and they found a fly that fell in it, they throw it out.
And here's the funny
No,
thing.
I'm saying most people would throw the food out.
When you look at certain things, the rabbis say that everything is permitted, but insects are not in that category. So flies and insects don't account. I'm saying what the rabbis are saying. I thought you guys studied that bullshit.
I did!
2 weeks.
A fly's dirty and a grasshopper isn't.
So then you are going to throw the whole stew out.
Yes.
Oh, is that?
If you're cooking your soup in a big pot that you've been nursing for long, let's use something more personal, like a poikie.
Okay, yeah.
Slamming over that poikie.
There's a fly in it.
And then all of a sudden the fly goes,
No, it's gone.
then you throw it on.
I'll throw it out.
That's in the Bible.
They lay extra
I don't know where
We just keep the lid on and make sure
All of a sudden kosher eating got personal, right? But you guys, how many times do you argue about going in and having prawns? What's wrong with shellfish?
It's delicious. It's gross.
How many of you have heard of someone, how many of you have heard of people that are highly allergic to shellfish?
More people die.
How many of you,
shellfish than any other food.
how do you know, how many of you have actually looked at the eating habits of certain shellfish? Or any shellfish? They like the pigs of the ocean, they eat it, BK and all the rest of it. How many of you have heard of that little vein at the back? Many of you guys were in restaurants and stuff. The poison vein that they have to clean out quickly before you eat it.
This guy's here.
Why?
Because it keeps the iodine, it keeps the toxins. It's pretty much like the gallbladder of.
Yes, all the gross stuff. But the problem is that actually keeps it in, but it also slightly gets absorbed in the flesh. But no, if we take that out and throw it out, the flesh is fine.
Yes.
No.
Oh.
Sorry for you.
Okay?
But it's got scales.
Okay, so we have we have certain distinctions. Cut, split tooth. Oh, yes, let me stir some more. Maybe fun. We've got 5 more minutes, so we're not going to get very much further. Okay? If we look at the cut, a rabbit is included in your list of things not to eat because it doesn't chew the cut. Or chew it. No, it says it chews the cut, but it doesn't have a split tooth, right? How many of you have actually seen a rabbit chew cut?
I've seen it chew lettuce.
But I know it poops it out and then eats it.
It does, exactly. The word cut is actually a funny translation. Okay, it's called a refractory animal. It literally doesn't have the chewing the cud as in the cows in it do. What it does is it'll poop it out and it'll turn around and it'll eat the poop again.
So like a picnic.
Yes, like a pig.
That's what rabbits do?
That's what you don't eat bunnies. Because you're digesting the poop that was eating the thing and the grass and the thing and you're obviously the
No, it's really it's Bugs Bunny.
But it makes really good stew.
Yes, to make it.
used to.
I like the tenses here.
It's Bugs Bunny.
All right. What about insects? What is my list of things that I'm allowed to eat? What I'm not allowed to eat?
Not the
Crickets, beetles.
It can't have many legs.
All things that we shall allow to eat.
Four legs and wings.
Yeah. No, yeah. So you can have like locusts. You can have crickets. What about it's yeah. What about spiders? No.
They're poisonous.
What about the centipede?
Sorry. Look, I'm going to prove a point. Yes, it's studying the portion. Did you say four legs?
I'm just repeating what everybody else is showing.
There's no way an insect can have four legs.
I'm shouting out what everybody's
If
doing.
anyone knows biology, it's six.
You guys are all theologians now. I want to hear from you what this question is on.
It's an insect, it's six. Does it say arachnids? Because it's eight.
I'm just occasionally trying to figure out from all you want to be very Jewish people what I'm allowed to eat.
It says, but it does say
Insect,
that.
six legs and wings.
But all other flying
Yes,
insects.
among the wind insects that go on all fours, you may eat those that have joined legs above the feet and which to hop on the ground. And he also speaks about does anyone eat insects? Can we just get this? Having a grasshopper quickie. No one is eating insects. Move on.
Alright, listen to me. If you have read through this portion and you haven't actually looked at the animals that are looked into it, okay, you've got a problem. We've got lots of things that you've got to investigate, okay? We have to take a look at what God has said. Please stay clear from and please do eat. There are positive and negative commandments. Please eat of this, don't eat of this, okay? I want you to be able to look at someone and you say, this is kosher, this is not kosher. By the time you're able to go through this portion and say, all right, but what about this? What happens if I'm cooking this and this? What happens if this does this? You need to be able to tell them from what God has said, not what Vincent said.
Sure.
You need to be able to study this because, I'm sorry, many of you say you eat kosher, but you don't understand kosher law. You're not eating kosher until you keep every single one of these things. We need to be able to say, this is where I found it, because otherwise you come around and say, no, but Vince said. Vince doesn't say nothing. Vince read from the Bible. The Bible said, I'm not taking responsibility for your kosher eating, I take responsibility for mine. You have to study the portion, you have to understand why, do some investigations, dig deep, let God reveal to you why you should and why you shouldn't eat certain things. Okay? God is the same yesterday, today and tomorrow. I'm going to mention one. Fish, anything with scales and fins. Okay? Shark is not on the menu. Eel is not on the menu. You've got to look at both.
What about pink clip?
Don't try and stir the pot. Oh, that's my job. Alright. I want you to just jump forward a little bit. I'm going to mention one more thing before we look at one reference quickly. I want you guys to start thinking about stuff. When you look at this portion, what does God describe this as? Does he say this is, please don't do this, or you'll be naughty, or what does he say? Do not become
Unclean.
Do not become unclean. Be holy for I'm holy. Give me that verse.
You'll become an abomination.
I want you guys to jump down to
43.
verse 43. Okay? I'm going to read from 43. Do not make for yourselves detestable. What does your translation say? Abominable, abhorrent. This is the same Hebrew word used when it talks about sexual immorality. Do not sleep with animals. Do not sleep with your sister. Do not practice infertility rites. Do not marry your stepmom. These are the type of things that God calls abhorrent. a man sleeping with another man. Abhorrent. This is the strongest Hebrew wording, and he correlates this detestable stuff that you're not allowed to eat, or you are allowed to eat, and you have to say, if it is that strong, that you're perverting the way God made man and wife, and what is holy and what is not, and he uses the same thing for this portion, that's some pretty strong language. Don't just wash it up and go, well, I get it. We all take our time and we have to think about this and all the rest of it. The number one excuse I hear from people is, I'm not there yet.
You should have that before.
Okay? Listen to this. Do not make yourselves detestable with any swarming creature that swarms, and you shall not become impure with them, so that you will be impure through them. Because I am Hashem your God, and you shall make yourselves holy, and you shall be holy because I am holy.
Oh, what a nice verse.
Everybody in Christendom will tell you, be holy for I am holy, thus says the Lord. What they don't tell you is that comes right out of kosher eating law.
That's funny.
Be holy for I am holy, bacon. Be holy for I am holy, snake. You can eat crocodile, you do whatever you want, but be holy. You misinterpret what God considers as holy. By your actions, by following God's instructions, you set yourself apart, saying, this is who I serve. What a fantastic opportunity to be able to declare to the world who is your God. Case in point. This is the heart of God running through and through. He says, I'm making a nation, a people unto myself. I am making you mine. You belong to me. Don't act like them. If you love me, please don't do this. Take this one distinctive feature in your spiritual walk. Just like Shabbat, just like Passover, just like the feasts, everything you say and do should scream who you belong to. Don't take your wedding ring and stick it in your pocket. Everything that God is doing is to scream to the world, he or she, you belong to me. You are not just the fallen, broken, good for nothing, impure, full of sin thing that the world is telling you. You're not that person anymore. I've washed you and I've anointed you. You are not here to sit down like the rest of the world, chasing your tails, living a life that they are their own God. And the biggest dreams are to go to school, get a job, earn lots of money, and then die. Maybe have a family. Maybe. That is the life cycle that the world is telling you. You need to achieve all your dreams is when you have too much money. Holly Beard will tell you that is the best place to be right now. If you want to lose your husband. Or if your husband wants to turn into a woman so he can get more money. Or people commit suicide. Why? Because they're lonely and they're afraid and they've got nothing. They can buy anything they want. There is nothing that they cannot afford. They can go anywhere at any time and they're always surrounded by people, but they have got nothing because they don't have God. Now you take God and he says, you have nothing, but I will give you everything, and that everything starts with me. Seek ye first the kingdom and its righteousness, and the rest will be given unto you. Change your perception. God first, who he is, what he died for, how much he loves you, how much he wants to set you apart for himself so that he can send you out to a dying and lost world. Why? For God so loved the world. But if we do not understand that and you do not focus on the heart of a priest, you kingdom of priests, how are you going to save anybody?
It's also immensely difficult because and I'm going to generalize, bacon-eating Christians have said to me that I'm in bondage because I'm following God's law.
Okay.
And I was saying to them the opposite, that I'm free because I'm following the law. To get across that mindset is immensely difficult because of the attractions of the world. It's a huge thing to break down.
And the perversion of what New Testament scripture says when we take it out of context. Okay, so next week we're going to do this. I know we're taking a bit of time. But I need you to understand, people are going to go into New Testament references and say, Yeshua declared all things clean. It says in Colossians, it says in Timothy, it says in wherever. You know, in Acts 15 it says I'm allowed to do this, this, and this, and this. I'm going to tackle those different verses so that you understand from a Torah observant, breathed, God-living, Bible-speaking Yeshua, and what he was talking about in context, and the issues that he was having with the perversion of what was going on here, and the traditions of rabbinic interpretation. And then you go look at the new, or later on, when Yeshua is ascended, and you go into Paul, and you look at the writings and the difficulties we have with a cosmopolitan society, when all of a sudden you're a Jew, living kosher, understanding the Bible, and there's a whole bunch of Gentiles that put in here that come from pagan backgrounds who don't understand the differences between clean and unclean. Can I eat with him? What is he eating? Does he understand this purity? Throw in rabbinic mix and a whole bunch of people that are misinterpreting things, and then we've got the problem we have in our New Testament. We are going to identify those certain things next week, okay? Which is why I laid the foundations of thinking of it. Understand the heart, understand the context, and understand what God is saying about these things. So, any other last thoughts, any questions? No? We're good. All right. Great time to be done.
No rules of poly soup.
Yes.